Oseo.
Oseo.
That's a Cherokee greeting. And wave the great feather for the good of it. Today is Sunday. A week ago, Sunday was Easter Sunday. And on that day, we went someplace out east of San Diego. It's called Yaqui. It's very rural out there. And in that vicinity, Amadeo Rea, he conducts an Easter ceremony. We've been attending that with him for a few years. And if you can go over here and look at this little photo that his partner Takashi gave that to us last Sunday. And it's a beautiful field of wildflowers. And here, these are some of the buildings that he and his partner Takashi have built out of straw bale houses. They look very much like southwestern adobe, and inside feel like it, like that. And so that's a memento to initiate my talk today, which is going to be the Yaqui Easter. Now, to say something of Amadeo Rea, he's an adjunct professor at University of San Diego of ornithology, and he conducts this Easter ceremony that for us, Claudia and myself, have continued our many, many years of attending, being a part of the Yaqui ceremony in Guadalupe, Arizona, where we once lived. The ceremony that he conducts is like a digest of what we experienced in the Yaqui ceremony, with processions and a certain kind of talk and initiation or blessing, all of these kind of things. His ceremony is particularly to honor the earth, and so that's very, very important for Claudia and I to be a part of that Easter ceremony conducted by Amadeo Rea. It's a desert environment out there. It's in the hills, but still very desert-like, with wild birds and little animals like that. For the Yaqui part of this, you can go all the way over there to, this is my painting here. This is, my creation of my feelings. That's just like a synthesis of my feelings of being in a southwestern border artist. I'm an artist of the border culture, and this is my feelings for the Easter season that we're talking about here. And so I won't try to explain it, just to initiate that. So as I should say, I'm Carlos Warner, keeping law and order along the border, and that means I'm a border culture artist. And then can come here to this little drawing that I have done. This is significant when you can zero in on that. This is my drawing of Juan Casillas. Juan Casillas is who has actually initiated, I would say, myself into the culture of Yaqui, of the village of Guadalupe. And here I have, it's the only drawing that I've done of Juan Casillas while he's dancing the deer. He was a deer dancer and a pacola dancer. Behind him, that's me wearing the sombrero and bandana. And he encountered me at the Salt River Reservation, the Pima Reservation, that was having a fiesta there. Much, much later I learned more about how that happened, because he was the uncle of Comadre Maria, who we got to know later. And so he encountered me there and told me about the village of Guadalupe, and to sometime come over there, and he would meet me there. And then eventually came to pass. Through the whole time that we began attending the ceremony, at least 25 years ago, it was, I'm trying to say, we were there for 25 years. How long ago from today, I don't remember how many years that ago is. He has been my guide and informant both in person and in dreams for several years here. And in the last dream that I had of Juan Casillas, we were in a cave there in Yaqui, and in the cave were hanging many of the masks, the Pascola masks, and other things that belong in the ceremony. And in this cave, he presented me with a very tiny Pascola mask, and that's why I have this one here. The other one was in the dream, but it was a little one like this. And so that is the way I'm signifying that he passed something on to me in the dream. And then later I had learned that he had passed over to the other side. That would approximate the time I had that dream. In Cherokee, you would say, Ugatu Sagayu, would mean he is a knowing man. That's the only way I can seem to refer to him, almost like the Cherokee ancestor, vision ancestor. So then from that, if you can go all the way over there to that picture there, we came to be attending there the ceremony by invitation for the Easter season, whenever the year that was, years and years ago. And we were definitely embraced by Comadre Maria Alvarez. And she definitely brought us into her family, and we definitely became a part of the family as padrinos. And this piece that you're looking at here, she made this and gave it to me. On the back she's written in Spanish, so to say, you know, I give this to you so that you will remember me. And so that is what I'm doing. And here's the picture of myself with Comadre Maria there at her house. And on the other side there is Claudia with Maria's daughter Anita and Anita's baby Pablo, and we became the padrinos of Pablo Patousi. And in keeping with this sense of Comadre right down here, this cloth that is embroidered, Comadre Maria embroidered that and eventually had given it to me. This was actually made for somehow winding it around the antlers of the ceremonial deer head, the Masokova. And so I wanted to show that of her there. To stay in that same vicinity, here I have used this antique artifact of Mexico to stand for the mother ancestor of the Yaquis, and she is Yomomuli. Yomomuli means that she is the divine bee mother, and here is an ancient replica of the divine bee mother. And around her I have put this. This is a rosario. This is throughout the ceremony, like a rosary, but a rosary not counting beads, but a rosary. Everybody who participates in this ceremony has this, holding it or wearing it. And it's made from a kind of the little branch of a bush in the desert, that the pith of the branch is soft so they can push it out. and they've trimmed it into beads and strung it and carved a little cross with a tassel. Now, similar to the Navajos in the sense they also have an ancestor mother, Changing Woman, and Changing Woman has two twin sons, which have a lot of adventures and things about them. So in this case, right down here, these are Yamamuli's twin sons, the Yamamulium. And why I have it here is because they are credited with making or bringing the first flute, bamboo flute, to the first ceremony or the first fiesta for the campanero. So that's a Yaqui flute, and these are the twins responsible for that. Then you can see, come over here. This is my creation. I call it bato. The Yaqui village, when we first were living there, we lived pretty near to the village, and it was surrounded by the desert. And so it was a real village, and it was actually originally a land grant. A land grant, 40 acres, though they call it La Cuarenta, that coincides with the 40 days of Lent, La Cuarenta, like that. So that is the actual original village that's called Guadalupe. The experience and senses of being there is like being in something. There's a real palpable sense of something. You're inside, and if you go outside the village, you're outside. And so that I have really created this bato as being that presence. There is a sensible presence for this plaza and ceremony. And behind it, this is my drawing that is featuring Damaso, the deer dancer. This is very mystical, and this is the presence of Coyote with the bat. The name of this season in particular is Passiontide, and like that. In Yaqui is Batnata, meaning myth time. And that names like, Batoachi, is the myth father. Batousi is, like the godson. And they have those kind of names there. And you can drop right down below that. Here, this is my drawing. And what's featuring there, for one, this man who was wearing a black cape, black hat. This is the people called the Phariseos. They are, in the drama like the army, but they're a real sacred army. And in the Easter ceremony, for Easter, they will be wearing black capes here. And what I'm featuring here is this cross. On May 3rd, which is really the end of the whole Easter season ceremony in the village, the cross is feminine. And in the temple, in the Tiopo, there is a cross there, and it has on feminine blouse, and to make it look feminine. And so that's the way that I have figured this this cross with the Phariseo, with being feminine for May 3rd. And since we're speaking of the Phariseos, we'll come up here to this cross. This is an actual Yaqui Phariseo cross that will be on the altar with the Rosario here. And I have the scorpion. The scorpion appears on the Bacola mask, it appears on the paraphernalia, the swords and whatnot. You see it here and there all around the ceremonialists like that. The Yaquis, that name Yaquis is not a Yaqui name. I can't find any etymology for it. The Yaqui's name is Emi. Emi is recognizable as an Egyptian word for people. And where these Yaquis have stemmed from is Coptos. Coptos on the Nile, which is also the place of the scorpion. I reckon that the Yaquis are descendants of Coptic Egyptians here. And that is further supported, when I'm mentioning this, a published report that I had read titled Semitic Elements of the Uto-Aztecan Language is saying all of the native languages of the Southwest have various degrees of Semitic language in them, with the exception of the people called Navajo or Apache. They clearly are speaking Turkic language. Everybody else has various degrees of Semitic language. And in the case of the Yaquis, even more so, the study is saying. They have, the complete forms of Semitic in their language, showing that these are not lone words, but actually a language within the language. There's a second language that is undiagnosed, along with the Semitic language, in the Yaqui language. So, Semitic language is Africa, East Africa, North Africa, and the Eastern Mediterranean, and so forth. All that belongs to the Semitic language family. Behind it here, I have my painting. This is, Padre de la Cruz, the Father of the Cross. Mexico is a country of crosses, and these crosses have families. They have names. They're persons of all kinds. In some places, like in Yucatan, it's practically a density of personified crosses. And so this kind of painting that I did that symbolizes that. I was in Mexico as a student, a graduate student, doing my theme for my master's degree on Mexican art history. So I traveled around quite a bit and really learned a lot of the Mexican culture in this sense. So now I want to go all the way up here. This is my drawing of Luis Masso. Masso means the deer or the deer dancer. And here he is, posing like taking a break. So he does not have the headdress of the deer on his head at this point. So he's taken that off, and now he's resting and he's taking a break here. Now, at this point, I'm going to say, who is Luis Masso? A whole troop of Yaquis were invited to the Museum of Man in Balboa Park. Claudia and I were members of the museum, and the museum invited the ceremonial troupe from Tucson here. And these people ended up staying at our house. Actually, it started when I was walking in Balboa Park. I recognized one of the Yaquis that I had seen in Guadalupe. And he said, the others are all here, and he took me over there in front of the Museum of Man, and here they all were. And the first man that met me there was Francisco Molino. And he was the uncle of our compadre Pete in Guadalupe. And he just about cried because he said he was so happy to see me because he felt so homesick in being there. So that started it off like that. So all of them ended up staying at our house. Our house was very near to the Balboa Park, on the edge of a canyon, surrounded by trees, very ideally. It was an old house, 1917, and we had everybody there. The whole troop numbered 16 people. The names that I remember, let me say, because some of our Yaqui relatives may be watching my talk. Tito, he was from New Mexico. He was the manager. He's not Yaqui. And then there was Carmela. He was the chief in Tucson. And Francisco Molino, the harpist, he said his brother made his harp. And while they were performing at the museum, it was on a high stage. And I was standing sort of behind the stage near him. And the vibration of the deer dancer on the stage caused that harp to pop off the stage. And lucky, I caught it. I caught that harp in my arms. And Francisco was, you could say, extremely grateful for that there. Another Francisco was the Campanello. And he liked telling me that he was friends with De Grazia, a very known local artist that became famous in Tucson that did southwestern native pictures, I kind of put it that way, like that. And then there was Aceto. Aceto was the carver of masks. And here, right here, this is a mask carved by Aceto Alvarez of Botán, Sonora. This is his mask, so he was included in that. And then there were two boys that were the boys of Chief Carmelo, and they were reviving the almost forgotten Coyote dance. And they actually auditioned it for me and Claudia. Later in Guadalupe in the ceremony, they actually came out and did the whole thing with the Campanello. But they showed it to us, you know, playing bowstrings and hitting it with crushed beer cans, you know, bang, 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 like that. So and there were others, but I can't remember any more of their names, along with, I should say, Luis Masso. We also took them down to the beach, OB or PB, I can't remember what. But what was interesting, Luis Masso, the deer dancer, he went around picking things out of the sand. And so I wanted to know what he was, and he showed me in his hand. What he was finding in the sand were tiny little garnets. And he puts these into his rattle. So that I find that very, very, very interesting here. Well, while they stayed with us, they left a lot of things with us. Things that they had also used in their ceremonial performance at the Museum of Man. And so you can go way up there, over there. You can see there's a rasp and a gourd. Now the rasp is made, this one is of a hardwood, and there's a stick there, and the person who was playing it, you know, rested on a half of a gourd, then kneeling on the ground, and he moves the stick over it very rapidly, like that. So the gourd is a resonator, and there's 2 or 3 men playing that, and they are the singers of the deer songs, and the rasp, the sound of the rasp, is the breath of the deer. Next, you see that here's a large half of a gourd. This is actually the water drum, actually was used. Inside is painted like a flowered cross, and there's a tiny little strap. It fits in a basin of water, and you have to hold that with a little strap. And there's a padded beater that goes with it. Boom, 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 boom. And that this is the heartbeat of the deer. So you have the breath of the deer and the heartbeat of the deer. So coming right across from that, here, this picture I have here, this is the Tiopo of Guadalupe. That means the temple. It's like a sentient being here. And these are the hawk eyes because it's seeing. And to accentuate that, during the ceremony, there will be a Phariseo up here behind the cross somewhere with binoculars, what he's watching for to see if anybody is taking pictures or recording the ceremony, because they don't want this to be commercialized in any way like that. And so that really makes the awareness of the Diopo. And here inside, this is the ceremonial egg that incubates the whole season. I mean, after the whole transition of the man who is transformed into egg, Jesucristo, then the egg is going to be here in the Tiopo, where I'm calling it that it incubates. So that's my illustration for the Tiopo de Guadalupe. And so come right over here to, this is my drawing. Another part of the ceremony that belongs to the Phariseos, they're like the army, or the Zapayecas, they're called. These are men who wear a rawhide helmet mask. This, you're looking at it from the back, and they wear very heavy plaid printed Mexican blankets. They carry heavy wooden swords, and not in my drawing, but they have a belt of pig toes that sound like that. And so they communicate, taking these and clicking their swords together, like wooden swords. And one of our relatives in the family, Jochi, he was one of these people. They have to be married to be in this ceremony in this way. And he said that it's a mystery because he has a bad back, but whenever he was here in the ceremony this way, his back didn't hurt him at all. So we'll say, hello, Jochi. And here we have, this is a stoneware head, deer head, that's made by Claudia. It's really wonderful to have made those antlers and so forth. And it's fairly modeled on the one that Luis Masso made, which he had at his, at Comadre's house here. So I really wanted to include this wonderful stoneware piece made by Claudia here, so you can see some idea of the deer head here. So back to the Masso, you can see here is Juan Casillas, and he's also wearing, this is a Hoporosium. They gave it to me. I don't know who made it. Luis Masso could have made it because he said that what he was wearing, he made it. And that's the people that gave this to me. So the deer, the man dancing the deer, he's always wearing this Hoporosum here, like that. And I should say, while I'm looking here, here I have these two masks on each side. These are of the Pacola, meaning old man of they call the ceremony is the Paco here. And this one actually was in the ceremony in Guadalupe, and the man who was dancing the Pacola, a friend got this for me, and he said his brother in Sonora carved that, so that's why this one is important here. This one I got from Tucson. These are called chivo, or a goat mask, and they have a cross on the top, one way or another, and it means the sun. It's a symbol for the sun. So then it brings me all the way over here. This is my drawing for the Pascola dancer here, and he has this round to know him here. He's wearing strings of these, and they are actually cocoons from a kind of moth in the Sonoran desert here, and they harvest these and they put little pebbles inside of them so that they will rattle, and the dancer is very articulate in making these sound very rhythmically here. These have become very rare because the Mexicans have been spraying for like insecticide in that region and killing the animals that make these cocoons. So hard pressed for the Yaquis to get these anymore. Also, he's wearing like a little garter with bells on the end. And here's the bell, you kind of bell like that. And not in my drawing, but otherwise, he plays this in his hand. This is a sanasam, a Yaqui sanasam. So he's the total figure of rhythm here. And so he will play that. He has two different kinds of dances. One where he's playing that, and another, and he puts a mask over his face, and the other he puts his mask on the back and he dances to the harp and the violin. Let's see, I think I got everybody there. Oh yes, one more thing I forgot. There's a little ant here. You see the little ant? I should have said this. The ancient ancestors of the Yaquis are called the Surim. The country, before the Europeans came, they called it Sure, and the people who lived there were the Surim. And when the Europeans came, some of the Surim, they went into the ground, into the caves, or still are around, for one, like an ant. So that ant is to depict, the ancestor of the Yaquis as, these ancient people looking like ants, basically, like that. Now, I'll give you a little piece here that I wrote for this kind of thing that happens in the Ramada. Medianoche en Guadalupe, cuando es capturado el animal. Midnight in Guadalupe, when the animal is captured. I live for a moment in the heart of it. At just such an hour, the mist walks. The fire and wind move. My body and tongue are silence. I am with the old men watching. Escucha, escucha, Pascola. Hear, hear. The Pascola barks clouds in his teeth, waves his tongue, moving, wetting his mouth opening in the mask. The deer jostle in the brush. Then one of them looks back to the Ramada. The moon is high now. El Rey is vivo. The king is old. In the Ramada, that's the enclosure where at this time they're guarding the egg, and a whole cycle of songs and dances are intensely going on, and then right at midnight it all changes. It gets really rapid, and this is when the change has happened. The transformation has actually happened, and now a whole new cycle of songs and dances goes on until the early dawn, and as the light of the sun starts to show in the eastern sky, the Ramada is facing east, then the whole cycle of songs that the Tampanello is playing comes through that time here. So that's much as I can say for this Yaqui Easter ceremony. And to conclude it, I have to say, our compadre Pete, there he lived with Comadre Alvarez. He's totally devoted to the ceremony. And that was that he's a deer singer, and he taught Claudia the deer songs. And as far as anybody could say, they never had known of a woman to learn the deer songs. And Claudia is a singer, and she's very good at learning songs in different languages, and she also had learned the deer songs. The first time that we aired this some years ago, evidently some of the people complained, but it turned out to be some of our relatives that realized that it was Claudia that sang the songs that Copandre P had taught her. So she's going to finish my talk here with some deer songs that she's going to sit and play to the drum, not using the gourd drum. Oh, I think, well, pull this. Okay, so you still get me? I'm going to give you one idea here of the poetry that's in these songs here. Where are you standing in the wind, dry grasses, straw and shaking in the wind, dry grasses? Where are you standing in the wind, dry grasses, straw and shaking in the wind, dry grasses? There in the wilderness, the flower world, the pale blue cloud will be gray water at its peak. The mist will rain down on this flower ground, and shining, reaching bottom where you are only standing in the wind, dry grasses, straw and shaking in the wind. That's the nature of the song that Claudia's going to sing.
With great respect, love, and honor to all our relations in Guadalupe, I've been gifted this song. Basamuela, Basamuela, Aizakaka, Babasiwe, Basamuela, Kumain, Awa Isamento, Babasiwe, Basamuela, Basamuela, Lela, Aizakaka, Babasiwe, Basamuela, Kumain, Awa Isamento, Babasiwe, Basamuela. Muna mansu se waila betana malo chilo nae sukon sano loa poea kai Basamuela Basamuela hai sakaka babasiwe Basamuela Kumain Hawaii samento babasiwe Basamuela 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 hai sakaka babasiwe Basamuela Kumain Hawaii samento babasiwe Basamuela 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 hai sakaka babasiwe Basamuela Kumain Hawaii samento babasiwe Basamuela Muna mansu se waila vetana malo chilo nae sukon sano loa poea kai Basamuela Basamuela ai sakaka babasiwe Basamuela Kumain Hawaii samento babasiwe Basamuela